Welcome your hosts, Caddy Frank and Aaron Fitzgerald, as they lead discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
And hello. Here we are at Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Good morning, Caddy.
Good morning, Aaron. And let's have a quick hello to our guests. Say hi.
Hi, my name is Yeng, but everybody just call me Y.
Ooh, we got a guest today, and it's fabulous. Oh,
Yeah.
So, Aaron, what do you got to say?
Well, before we get started with the show, let's say thank you to some of our donors, especially to the Patrick and Amy Butler Family Foundation, the Otto Bremer Trust, the Sauer Family Foundation, and the Hardenberg Foundation. Thank you all very much. And alongside all of our other donors from the community, we appreciate you, and we would not be here without you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We much appreciate you, all of you beautiful humans out there. So we are here on a lovely day.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, so fabulous.
Yeah.
So, Miss Erin,
Mm-hmm.
What is right with you today, my dear?
What is right with me today is I don't know exactly how I stumbled upon this old email. I don't ever forget about people or that I'm going to reach out to people. Sometimes more time passes than I anticipate happening. And this time there were months and I feel really bad. But our first fan had sent us an email. Caddy and I met Javier at an AM 950
Event at the Prentice Theater.
Yeah, it was fabulous. And we were sitting next to this gentleman and his girlfriend, I believe, Javier, and I don't remember her name, but we connected a couple of times and I meant to get back to him and I haven't. So I sent him an email this morning. Javier, thanks for being a fan, dude. I hope you still are.
Wow. Isn't it funny how things
Yes.
just kind of get
man.
lost in the fray? It's not personal,
No.
and it just happens. Well, that is absolutely right with
Yeah.
you. That's
Yeah.
really great.
And what's right with you?
Well, let's see. Being a beautiful day, I woke up and I was like, yeah, I'm inspired today. I was able to sleep in a little bit. Haven't been able to do that for a little while. So, and also got some great gardening done by my person this weekend, not necessarily me. So that was even better.
Wow.
He did some gardening on the front of the house and it looks fabulous. I was telling him why about it. So,
Hands dirty.
I got to buy some plants, which is always good. And so, just a good weekend. Just a good weekend. And it's going to be a great week. So, yeah, it's good.
It is.
So, why? What's right with you today, my friend?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you, Aaron and Caddy, to bring me on the shows. What's right with me today is that I wake up and work on my recovery every day and able to support and help those that are going through recovery themselves.
Now, how's that for a message from Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution?
Yeah. So happy to have you.
Yeah. So, it's going to be an exciting conversation today because we've got Y here and Aaron here and the opportunity to really talk about these stories that we have about recovery and how we can get brand new, but we got to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
I got a message from someone this morning saying that there's an individual struggling someplace and the family's just kind of had it. And it made my heart sink because when your network is so worn out because of your substance use, it can be a real difficult place to be in. So just made me really grateful for my own recovery and for the people around me. Mm-hmm. So why, my friend? Why don't you just give us a little snapshot about you and maybe your life right now, and then we're going to have you go in depth. That's the word I was looking for, in depth, with kind of how you got to this point. But like, what do you do at MRC? What do you do at Minnesota Recovery Connection?
Sounds fantastic, Caddy. Thank you. Well, it takes me over 20 something plus years just to figure out my recovery and the new lifestyles that I put myself into. But I would like to apologize from a culture perspective if there's any specifically like Hmong people that are listening or will listen to this podcast in the future, I would just like to apologize to the elders or to the Hmong community that this is what happened to me. It might not be happening to others. And I apologize if I might have say something that wrong, or it's because I'm a human and my perspective might be different than theirs. And I just want to apologize ahead of time that if I say something incorrect, just know that I'm human and I will continue to make those mistakes.
Can I just say really quickly that this is exactly who Y is all of the time. He's a considerate human, and he wants to make sure that his elders aren't taking offense to the things that he's going to say in his story. It is so respectful.
Well, I was just going to say it respectful, and also for those who might not be from your culture, we were having a discussion when we were talking about this. Why do you do this? Why? It's always gets really complicated when we say whys all the time.
I do this is because, you know, there's different generations, there's different aspect, or there's a different principle with older generation, newer generations, where we're in the Hmong community, we don't really talk about recovery, or we don't really talk about mental health issues.
Right.
And that's always been the challenge, or that's always been the issues in the Hmong community or the Asian community, period.
So the idea is that since something is not discussed, when it is discussed, some people might go, "Ooh, that hurts a little bit," or I'm not comfortable hearing that. Is that kind of it?
That's kind of part of it. But the other part is that, you know, growing up as a male in the Hmong culture, it's you are taught certain ways to follow or certain ways to do things. And one of those ways is that, you know, if you expose about your mental health issues, is like a sign of like weakness. So, but at those times it's hard to identify, but you know, I believe now that those issues need to be talked about. Those issues need to bring up from under the rug to address it to the younger generation, that, you know, it's okay. You know, it's okay to talk about it.
Might be hard, but it's okay, versus just keeping everything a secret. I think there's many cultures. I think so many cultures want to bury, many times if somebody's struggling with mental health or somebody's struggling with substance use disorder, you know, talking about it could cast shame on others, when in fact it's the person who's experiencing it that is really feeling the ultimate shame, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And so I think I wanted you to kind of explain that and give it out, because we have a lot of people who are of all listening audiences. And it's like, if you think you're the only family, regardless of your culture, that keeps secrets, guess what? We just had a young man talk about his culture and keeping secrets. It's kind of the way too many groups feel like they can't talk about mental health, you know, addiction and substance use and substance abuse and all those things that people just get confused around, or if they don't understand, they don't understand. So I don't want to talk about it. You know, it's scary.
I think that people are starting to understand that there's less shame around, or less stigma around mental health and substance use. So some people are starting to talk about mental health a little more, but as you said, like in some communities in particular, especially when you're trying to change the lens of your elders who you respect so much, that can be a difficult task, but you're going at it pretty gracefully.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like the challenge with the substance use disorder too, is because like when you become known as a substance use disorder, they kind of like think that you're going to bring shame or, you know, discredit the family line or family name. And that's kind of like one of the big issues.
Yeah. No, I bet it is. I mean, because you're crossing so many different lines. So I think, Aaron, you said something that really is important, is that mental health has really become a much more open conversation. And now we need to like gravitate towards that substance use. So we're going to take our first break, and we are grateful that you were listening to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. We're back with Aaron and Y. Thank you very much.
Loving it, because without it there's no home. And there's one thing that I've learned through this year of being alone.
Welcome back to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. We are having a conversation with Moua from Minnesota Recovery Connection, and we just want you to share a little bit about your story and what you're doing at Minnesota Recovery Connection, wherever you want to start.
All right. My story started a long time ago, but let's just fast forward 20 years after my substance use disorder back in 2020. That's where everything started to change. That's when both my parents, they both died from COVID apart for a week apart, and that's driving me into a very dark places, very broken. Didn't know what to do, didn't know how to change. But then something incredible happens. Like a couple months later, where my son was born, and that kind of showed a light. But I was so stuck in there living that lifestyle, and I got caught up to all the things that I did. I went to the county jails, had no clue and didn't know what to do. And then I saw a little ad saying that, Teen Challenge help with treatments. I applied to go to Teen Challenge. I didn't know God then, but things changes, and I went to Teen Challenge, and I believe now that it was his purpose to put me there. I went through the 1-year program, Teen Challenge, got out, went and worked at a manufacturing jobs, doing electronic stuff, didn't really feel fulfilled, didn't really feel like I was doing anything with my life. I got the opportunity to go back to work as a recovery navigator at Teen Challenge.
That's through the AmeriCorps program, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Recovery Corps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when you went through the training.
Yeah. So I went through a training with Caddy and Aaron. And
yeah. We all sort of kept meeting all around the place.
Yeah. And then shortly thereafter, you became part of us.
Yeah. So I spent 10 months at Teen Challenge as a recovery navigator. After that, put an application with Minnesota Recovery Connections, and been working then since July of 2023. Yeah, 23.
Okay.
It's been over a little year.
Yeah.
But the ride was, the ride is bumpy. It was fun. It was challenging.
Yeah.
But most important, recovery works if you work the program, like Caddy said.
Yeah.
And I've been there, and gradually I was becoming a office manager, still doing CPRS because I can't leave
stop.
that life.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, it's interesting to see that. I'm very sorry. I did not know about your parents. I didn't know that part of your story. So my condolences to you. I didn't realize that was
it's okay.
That sort of pinnacle. But I mean, that was really kind of like, it sounds like that was a changing moment in your life. That sounds like I'm quoting somebody somewhere there, but Dr. Phil, that's what he says. It's a changing moment in your life. But look at where you are now. Would you mind sort of stepping back into the past 20 years before these last 4 years and just give people a snapshot of like what led you to the substance and maybe some of the consequences that happened? Because I think what's important for people to hear is what happens to a young man and makes things happen in a way that you didn't anticipate, but they came your way. So please.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what Guy says, he says, from the age of 0 to 12, I wasn't given an opportunity or chance to make those decisions. And those decisions brought upon me to self-medicate myself, right? So in alcohol was introduced into the Hmong culture at a very young age. We were exposed to that, it's thinking that it's okay because all we see is our uncle or grandpa or the elders. That's all they use at every ceremony, any giving party. All you see is they drinking. So you grow up knowing that or thinking that is just the right thing to do because
it's kind of culturally accepted, right?
Yeah, but we never seen as that it's going to become a problem or it's that we're going to become alcoholic. But that actually graduated over time. And when I was at the age of 12, and, I didn't know this back then because I was a kid, but, my parents, they were like, always be working like 10, 12-hour shift just to make ends meet because we coming from third world countries, they are not educated. And they were having hard times to get a high paid job. So they have to be gone the whole day. And what do kids at that age doing at home and living in projects? Of course, you're just going to go hang out with other kids. And that's how I got introduced into like the gang life, because that's where I feel comfortable. That's where I feel like I belong.
Mhm.
And that's where I feel like I was loved. And I fall into that gang lifestyle at the age of 12. And that's where I got introduced into weed,
Mhm.
and gradually living that dual life. You know, I was a pretty good intellectual kid myself,
Mhm.
but right after school, I'll come home, do my homework, and then go hang out with the rest of my gang at that time.
Mm.
And by the age of, like, say, 16, that's when I was introduced into crank.
Yeah,
Start
crank.
using crank at the age of 16. Um,
Can I pause for just a second? I just want to go back to that acceptance piece, because I think a lot of folks find their substance use disorder because they find people that finally love them
Mhm.
and a place where they fit, and it's not necessarily a healthy place.
Right.
I know that's part of my story too. And so finding people that accepted you was great, and you felt that love and you were welcome there. It just happened to not be a healthy place, but you didn't care because they were loving on you.
Mhm.
yeah. And
Giving you the attention that your parents couldn't, not because they didn't love you, but they
Yeah.
had to
Right.
work hard. Story
And
of
they were doing their best. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
trying to bring home the food on the table
Mhm.
for survival, but then yeah. So just for the listening audience that doesn't know what crank is, what's crank?
crank is like it's kind of like a first version of methamphetamines.
Okay.
It's like more like a hard rock, like crack.
Okay. Okay.
But
Yeah.
after crank, then methamphetamine came
came
into
in
play.
and play.
Yeah. So gradually going through high school, living a double life. Because I respect my family, I respect my culture. I didn't want to shame them, so I was living a double life of involving in gang activities, using drugs, but then also hide it from my parents really well.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know about it until senior years, when my dad, my biological dad, he passed away right after my birthday, and that's when I really got introduced into methamphetamines, and that's where my whole life changes for the worst turn, because we all know what meth can do to our individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And living that lifestyles, I came to the conclusion of like how I'm gonna do this. Either I'm gonna become a person that goes steal stuff or robbing people or robbing houses just to support my habit, or turn the other way around where I start selling methamphetamine myself to support my habits.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose option 2.
Selling it versus robbing
Versus-
people. Yeah. And I want to take, like Aaron did, just a step back. So for those who are listening that don't understand how all consuming methamphetamine is, when you're on meth, all you want is meth, and all you're going to do is figure out how you're going to get it next. Correct?
Correct. Because it's just like any other substance, you will have that withdrawal, and you don't want to have that withdrawal. So you always want to have X amount of laying around, so that when you wake up, you can stimulate yourself to go and get up and do the activity that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like any other substance that you have to need it.
Yeah. Your body is craving it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you put it in and the body can't do the withdrawal from it because it can't function anymore without it. Whether it's good or bad for you, your body just can't function.
Yep.
Continue on, my friend.
And then when my dad passed away, I went to that spiral. Went homeless a couple of times using meth, because that lifestyle, it comes with glory, but it's also come with homelessness. It also come with heartache. It's also come with trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I started going to county jails, because created crime, getting caught with possession charges. Gradually, from the age of 18 to 23, that's the life that I only know how to live. That's the only life that I'm comfortable living. That's the life that I didn't want to change, because I'm so comfortable living that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 23, I got a phone call from a person that I was dealing to in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a ride down there thinking that, I'm the man. I'm the guy.
Why. You're why. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't why then.
Oh, you were why then. You were somebody,
somebody else.
Okay. Yeah.
I I took a ride down there. I never came back. It's because I caught my first major case in Wisconsin, and I was sentenced to 16 years in imprisonment. But in Wisconsin, the structure is a little bit different. They say 16, but they give you they gave me 9 in and 7 out, so it's a total of 16 years. So I got out after 7 years with like good behavior, with finishing like programs. But while incarceration, I didn't want to change.
No, you're not. No, you're probably with a lot of people that look like you, sound like you, that understand you really well, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's where, and even though I was in there, I was like making hooch. I was like
hooch is booze in
in prison
Carson.
terms.
Yeah.
So, and I was lying to like mental health and lying to LADC in prison just to get like prescription drugs to get the same effects. And so I was never like planning to stop using.
Right.
So after 7 years, I came out. I was doing good for like 6 months, and then I went right back into the same comfortable lifestyle that I was before.
Because it's all you knew. You knew it well. You knew how to ride that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's no questions. Turning straight, I'm using as air quotes, just, hey, you're out of jail. You can pull it all together. Unless you don't have the skills to do that. You don't have the comfortability to do that.
Yeah. And without like good, strong like recovery support, or without good mentors, I'm pretty sure, most of us that have been through that cycle will always go back. So with that, I lasted 6 months. I went right back to that comfortable lifestyles. Another 6 months later, my house got raided.
Were you in Wisconsin still then? You were in Minnesota.
I was in Minnesota. Now? I got they call it an interstate compact to come to Minnesota. I was accepted, and then I was living at a place and they raided my house. This time, unfortunately, my little brother, he just got out of prison too. So both of us was on paper, and they found a gun. They found a gun. And, unfortunately, one of us have to go.
Yeah.
Because both of us on, supervisions. So I say, you know what? You just got out. I'm already been out for a little bit. I'll take the rep for us.
Wow.
Yeah. So I took the rep for us, brother. I went back and ended up doing the 3.5 years for the gun charge, being a felon. And that come out in 2019. Didn't want to change. This time I did make a commitment while I was incarcerated, though. Everybody that I knew that was incarcerated with me, I told all of them that this time when I come out, I was going to become a well-known drug dealer. That was
aspirations.
Wow. Yeah, that was my commitment this time when I was in prison. I was like, look, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to become a well-known drug dealer in the Twin Cities, and I'll take it from there.
Wow.
And that's what I came out to do that. I think I achieved it, not to glorify it, but I think I became well known because, that's
had a past. You had all this history. I mean, and you had time inside, so you had new friends and new people probably.
Here's what I see. You're setting goals and you're meeting them.
Yeah. Whether or not they are the most upstanding goals, but you met them, right?
Yes. Shortly thereafter, it changes.
Yeah.
I met those goals. And, it wasn't, a good lifestyle goal, but, it was still some goals.
Yeah.
And I accomplished it. Living the luxury, how they call it, kingpin lifestyle with many cars, monies you can spend. It was fun, but all good things has to come to the
end. Yeah. Sometimes we just got to hang up that good lifestyle, right?
Yeah. So, and that's when 2020 comes around and go into where both my parents, my stepdad and my mom, they passed away, and that's where things changes.
Yeah.
So yeah, with all of that crazy lifestyles, they have to come to an end sometime, and you gotta really, really decide what you want to do. Either there's only two paths for the life that we live, for just not like say the Hmong Asian community, but for like all community, if we all choose that lifestyle, there's only like basically two life paths that we can choose. Either incarceration for a very long time, or either you're gonna probably end up being dead or that's it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of, if you're going to live that hard lifestyle, you kind of got to kind of like possibly, like you said, 2 avenues. Wow. So
then between the tragedy, sometimes tragedy brings great things, but then you also had the great thing happen with your little fella. He's such a cutie.
yeah. So there's a whole woman in here too somewhere. Where does that all come in, and little people and stuff?
Yeah. So with me, what really sparked me at the time when my parents, they passed away, when the lights kind of started showing, is that, hey, you know, you don't even have a kid, you don't even have a life, you don't even have nothing to show to your parents, because like in the Hmong community, when your son are established and well, like financial wise, then they kind of like glorify your parents, saying that they had raised kids that are successful, that they're being good parents. But if they don't, if their kids is not living up to that standards, then that means that they have done
a poor job
of being parents.
Shame, yeah.
Yeah, so it's always that shame and guilt and that pride and the status and the ego. And that kind of sparks a little bit, like, say, hey, you know, my mom didn't even get a chance to see how much I can become. Or my dad, they didn't even see how much of potentials I have. And then when my little one came, he changed the whole dynamic. He brings so much light into my life. Like, hey, obviously, you know, nobody wants to raise their kids from prison, or nobody wants their kids to grow up just to be like they did. And those two things play a big crucial role, because when I was thinking at that time, I was like, I don't want my son to be like me. I don't want to raise him from prison.
Right.
Because I see the impact that father has with their kids while I was incarcerated.
Yeah.
How hard it is to see their kids come visit them at the visiting rooms or visiting through a glass window is very difficult for the kids. And I want to change that. But like I said before, I can't, because I was comfortable living in that lifestyle. And at this time, I was already on the run from the law. So I just gradually continued to live that lifestyle just for a little bit of like a month.
Okay. Kind of tested the waters still, just making sure.
And then my house, you know, the house that I was staying at got raided, and then went to Ramsey County. And that's where I heard about Teen Challenge. And unfortunately, you know, I wasn't that lucky person where you put the application and you get accepted and you get to go to Teen Challenge and do treatments. I actually went through the hard way, because I have a Wisconsin outstanding, so I have to go through all the legal back end stuff. I have to get denied like twice by the Minnesota Department of Corrections.
Wow.
Until like the third time, and they say, "Oh, we'll give you this try," but that's already like after 6 months incarcerations, and they gave me that third opportunities, and I went Teen Challenge, and that's when I graduated Teen Challenge. Came back and worked as a recovery navigator, and working at when I was in Teen Challenge, and that's where I met my wife. Incredible, beautiful, supportive wife that keep me in check.
It's always good to have a partner in not in crime, but in life.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that when I was going through that transitions, she bring lights into my life, because she was taking care of my son, where he was only like a year at the time. So she became a mom to my son, and I was like, you know, this is the one. Yeah. So I was like, this is the one. And that's when I really decided that I need to take my recovery seriously. And I took my recovery serious, and I graduated Teen Challenge. I went back home, and I started working at that manufacturer job that I said. But, you know, you always feel that empty, you know, going to work 9 to 5, coming home without helping anybody or without using the things that you're going through to inspire others to find their recovery. It's like so empty and dead.
You're missing that fulfillment.
It's dead, you know. And I was like, okay, give me another opportunity. And when the opportunity came, I worked as a recovery navigator, completed the term, trying to still find my next best thing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Aside from, because I know that you are a believer, and that is a big part of your recovery. But was there anything else at Teen Challenge? Like, did you have a peer when you were there, or anything in particular that really was helpful for you?
Yes, I have a CPRS, and he helps me a lot. He helps me a lot. He teach me a lot, and he also showed me a lot of the ethics and boundaries because I learned a lot from him
Of life, you mean?
Yes.
of life and the boundary and ethics, because that's what he's very into. Like, he will not breaks any rules
Hmm.
for you,
Right.
but he will do everything that he needs to do for you.
As your peer recovery
Yes.
specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certified peer recovery specialist was really kind of teaching you, and it's one of the things that we talk about in the class, kind of teaching you how to kind of like come around again to doing things the right way, that you weren't doing it wrong. Well, yeah. Okay. Some of it you were doing wrong.
Yeah.
But like, you didn't know what you didn't know. So you had somebody who was kind of guiding you.
Yeah,
And that's what
mentor.
a certified peer recovery specialist can do.
Yeah.
A
And he was doing his job really well.
Well,
So you got
yeah.
to see what the
That looks
That
like.
looks
the
like, yeah.
impact and the impacts and the helpfulness and the like just kind of like mentor you in the right way that you're supposed to be doing as a CPRS.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like sparked my interest. Like, hey, I can do that job.
Yeah, you can.
So
you set a goal and then you achieved it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I think we've talked about several times the value of your history. And that's the thing that, being a peer recovery specialist, a certified peer recovery specialist, we have these incredible backgrounds that actually help us identify with people and break down some of those walls that we've built around us.
Yeah. And I like that you and a couple of other people in the Hmong community have really kind of taken the reins and said, we really have to show our community, right? You introduced me to the Hmong American Partnership. And we did a little bit of training with them, with some folks that had substance use disorder and some allies to the community. And all of their minds were just blown, and they all agreed, like, how can we relay this to our elders?
Yep. So yeah.
That's a story. And look at where you are now. I mean, this is so amazing. I mean, you have, and what's so great is that Wise Wife is on our peer advisory council, and she's coming in with ideas left, right, and all the other sides.
Yeah, volunteers when she can.
Yeah, volunteers. I've got to meet his sons because they came to an event that we had for our volunteer appreciation dinner. And I get to see kind of like, I knew some of your story, but now that's truly in the past. And what I get to see is this beautiful man and his lovely wife and his two sons, and this amazing opportunity you've given to yourself, but also this family unit. I mean, it's like beautiful. And this is what recovery can bring to people. And why you were telling me about your wife and her position that she's holding. Just briefly describe what she's doing, because you have been a supporter and a motivator for her.
Yeah, so I was telling her that she could do the same thing as I did, but she was working at a staffing agency, and she's having the kind of like the same feelings, like she's not being fulfilled or having a purpose in life. So I advise her to volunteer for MRC. I advise her to join the PAC teams, and she got trained by this awesome, phenomenal lady, Caddy here, just like I did. And she went and take her certified peer recovery specialist test with the MCV. She passed it. She went apply that at new chemical treatment centers, and she got accepted. And she has been working there for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I love Anu too.
Yeah, just helping people. I mean, and I think that's really the beauty of what we do, and that is we see people that are wanting to make a change in their life and other people's lives. But man, when they can make a change in their life, it just kind of has this wonderful domino effect of changing. Your life got changed because you took a step towards recovery. Then the woman that you love took a step in recovery and working towards all these beautiful steps. And then these little boys in the middle just get all the love and the care. I mean, it's just beautiful. So, we'll be back. We're going to take our next break. And when we come back, Wai is going to tell us what is in the future for him, because he's got some great things. So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. So here we are back again at Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution with Why the Man and beautiful Erin and Caddy, your host. So we heard this incredible story of how you grew up, unable to maybe be able to figure out how to be a young man at a very young age. And then you found a new community that took you in, gave you some strengths, but then also kind of turned your life upside down. And now you've done some time and got off paper in Wisconsin, because we were all there to hear that, right?
Got off paper in Minnesota 4 years earlier than anticipation dates, but
Right.
Wisconsin denied it until next year.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So when we say on paper, off paper, what we mean is that Y is free in Minnesota to be the man that he wants to be. And he still has to clarify some things in Wisconsin at some point. But these are like milestones in the journey that a lot of people have. And so he gets to use that incredible experience towards helping people. Because if somebody's struggling with their past and it's just absolutely blinding their future, how do we help people just sort of see how to move forward, take those baby steps, right? Why?
Correct.
Baby steps. So you are at Minnesota Recovery Connection currently, but there's a change in the air in many different ways. Tell us about what you've learned from Teen Challenge, Minnesota Recovery Connection. You wanted to like birth something. So tell them what you're going to birth, and then this next step that you're taking, and tell us what it looks like.
Yeah, Caddy. I'm always going to be grateful for Teen Challenge and especially Minnesota Recovery Connections, because, I have all my training through Caddy and Minnesota Recovery Connections. So, and they also teach me a lot of things that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And Minnesota Recovery Connections has been a very big part of my life for the last year. I have grown. It has taught me how to grow. It has taught me more things than I know.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, we have to look next to the next chapter or to the next part of our journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be ending my service with MRC, Minnesota Recovery Connection, this week. And I will be starting a new role with Lighthouse Beginning.
Tell us about Lighthouse Beginning.
Well, Lighthouse Beginning, it's original established in Brainerd, but they are want to expand their service a little bit more towards the Twin Cities. So they having a new location in downtown Minneapolis. And that's where I'm going to be at, is to be at the Minneapolis campus. And
what do they do?
They just got approved this year to become a RCO. So they'll
Recovery
be
Community Organization.
Yep, just like MRC. And they're going to do a lot of the work, like similarity with MRC doing, like peer support services.
Mm-hmm.
That's CPRS. They're also going to have like a community engagement room. They're going to have like reentries. And
reentries mean
like people that are coming out of like incarcerations or treatments, to give them a safe space or safe place for them to come and just kind of like hang out and work on their self and work on their identity and resumes and job search and all of that in downtown Minneapolis.
What I love about that organization is what they're doing up in Brainerd is exactly what that community needs.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, they're asking the questions and looking around and making sure that they're doing what the community needs, and not just like putting up stuff and running an organization. They're bringing people from the shelter. We've talked about them before, and bringing them to a space where they can learn and grow and have opportunities. And then they've just got, just all sorts of kudos to them.
Yeah, and that's the thing that they're trying to bring down to the Minneapolis campus. And eventually, I believe they want to expand more too. So that's what I know.
So your position there is going to be?
I was told that I was going to become...
We haven't started yet, so we'll see.
Yeah. So I was told that I was going to become a director of special projects.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it feels like you've got very well-established programs up in Brainerd. And then what's going to happen is they're just going to sort of begin to evolve down in the cities, and sort of what does the community need? You've got people talking and stuff, but then there's also another project that you have kind of on the back side of this. Tell us about that.
Say that. I love when people come in and they're already like, hopping around like little bunnies, like, how can I get this information so that I can figure out how I'm going to do what I need to do because I know what I want to do. And that's exactly how you came into MRC,
Uh-huh.
was like with a plan or with an idea.
Yeah.
So when I first came into MRC, I told Caddy and the team there that eventually one day I would like to have my own RCO.
Recovery Community
Recovery
Organization.
community. Yep. And I've been developing a lot of the stuff on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And
you want to focus on what though?
I want to focus more in the Hmong and then the Asian community, trying to help them, to support them, educate them, to break that stigmas between old generation and new generations.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing a lot of that on the back end, and the organizations that we established is me, my wife, and my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And we call it Gong Recovery.
Mm-hmm. How do you spell that?
Koom.
Gong.
Gong. And what it means in English is that like togetherness or join together in recovery.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what the translation would be. It's like join together in recovery.
Right.
So
yeah, something that I think all of us have learned, that every culture is everywhere, first and foremost. It's everywhere. It's the food, it's the clothes, it's our religion, it's our whatever. And what we're taking away from as a recovery community organization and a recovery world, we have to meet people where they are literally at. And so why being a strong, experienced Hmong man is saying, how can I help my community? Well, I can do it by getting in with my community. Look at me. I'm like in. I'm like doing like this, like getting in there.
yeah,
And it's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge talking to the elders. And, it's going to be hard, but, it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
It's doable. They've been coming more around. They've been living here in the United States for a longer time now. So they know, and Hmong people adapt to new things very easily. So I'm hoping that, in the next, like maybe 4 or 5 years or what's not, hopefully that the dynamics will change and there will be more like, say, LADCs or mental health therapies in the Hmong communities that can implement more like culture base to support the younger ones that are going through these kind of like changes and this like transition of their life.
Right. Well, and I think time might be your friend too, because some of the real old hardcore beliefs that are influencing a couple of generations, once the next generation begins to kind of, I'm going to use the word, see the light, it can affect the next generation and the next generation. And that's where it is. And that older generation will just see people getting more healthy. Yeah. And so hopefully what can happen is that, I guess these kids know what the heck they're talking about. And so it just makes my heart just sing. With what you've been able to do at Minnesota Recovery Connection, what you're going to do with your new opportunity, what you've already done. I mean, look at you. You're amazing.
Oh, you guys are amazing.
No, you're amazing.
You are.
So I truly want to thank you. Why? We caught him on the last week of his employment at Minnesota Recovery. And he's like, when can I come on the radio? When can I come on the radio? When can I come on the radio? We're like, how about this Monday? Oh, well, whatever day it is. It's the day that we're taping.
I'm going to miss you.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I've been asking these ladies for like 3 months.
I know.
I had that date set once, and then we had to reschedule. But you know what?
Better late than never.
It's better now because so many things have changed since then, and this is really good stuff to be.
I think it's just perfect opportunity. The timing is probably right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what it shows is that what recovery can do.
Yeah.
And you have been able to evolve and evolve and evolve and evolve. And you're evolving onto this next thing, just like Justin McNeil did. I mean, MRC is like sort of the oldest recovery community organization. And maybe we're just truly the training ground for this next generation.
Yeah.
It takes generations of change to make recovery.
Yeah.
So
helps
Aaron,
people find their wings. Yeah, you bet. Thanks for listening, everybody. And if you appreciate our show and the stories that we share, we would appreciate you donating to our organization at minnesotarecovery.org. Also, if you have extra time on your hands and want to volunteer with us, that would be fabulous as well. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Y. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.